House Democrats have just unveiled the latest round of legislation to provide Americans with economic relief. So now this is being dubbed Coronavirus Relief Phase 4. And it adds up to about $3 trillion. So the House is expected to pass this $3 trillion bill on Friday, along party lines, of course, as Democrats, according to The Hill, seek to put pressure on Republicans to start negotiating for additional measures to contain the impact of the outbreak on workers. So right now, you had Democrats that have been working on this for the last couple of weeks, and Republicans saying, nah, let's wait and see. Now, that's Mitch McConnell. That's a lot of the Republican leaders are saying wait and see. Kevin McCarthy as well. And then you've got some Republicans that are floating things like the Eagle Plan, which would literally ask you to borrow against your own retirement from Social Security so that for a one-time payment, right, of up to, depending on the bill, $5,000 or the idea, $5,000 to $10,000. It's not an actual concrete bill. It's just a proposal. So that's kind of what the Republicans are looking at. They're not talking about another round of stimulus. They're saying, again, wait and see. And here's how we can help workers by screwing them over. Donald Trump, of course, is in favor of a payroll tax cut, which doesn't help the over 30 million people that are no longer employed. You can't benefit from the payroll tax cut if you're not getting a paycheck. So, I mean, it's ridiculous, right? So now this bill, however, includes $10 billion in extra funding for food stamps, $150 million to help local food banks meet increased demand. It also includes measures to help homeowners and renters struggling to pay their mortgages or rent due to lost income. So, look, I don't know what kind of assistance that will, or what form that assistance will take. There's no, big details on that yet. But it is good that they are at least addressing the fact that people cannot pay the rent. Now, there's also $100 billion set aside to provide emergency assistance for low-income renters that are at risk of eviction. Now, as far as direct payments go to workers, well, look, there were some pretty good plans. For example, you had Tim Ryan and Ro Khanna, moderate and progressive, getting together and floating the idea of, $2,000 a month stimulus payments, form of a UBI, for at least 6 months. You also had in the Senate, Bernie Sanders working together with Kamala Harris and Ed Markey to push a bill that would, again, do about the same thing, give every American $2,000 a month for at least the next 6 months. And so is that going to make it into this legislation? No. Individuals making up to $75,000 have been eligible for a maximum of $1,200, with those making up to $99,000 eligible for a smaller prorated amount. That was the original CARES Act or Coronavirus Stage 3. Under the Democrats' proposal, there would be one second round of direct payments of $1,200 per family member or up to $6,000 per household. So basically just one more $1,200 check. Bold. Now, the bill also includes, and this is where most of the funding goes to, $915 billion for state, local, territorial, and tribal governments. That is the top priority for Democrats. They've been trying to get this funding for quite some time. And then they would also allocate another $755 million for D.C. to assist with financial impacts from the pandemic. It also provides $75 billion for coronavirus testing, contact tracing, and other measures to monitor the spread of COVID-19, as well as $100 billion in grants for hospitals, medical providers to reimburse healthcare-related expenses, an additional $25 billion for the post office to help make up for lost revenue, as well as $3.5 billion for grants to states to make contingency plans for this year's federal elections. Now, one more thing that it adds is there's a rules change that will allow lawmakers to vote remotely and conduct committee work virtually. So that would actually help. And so, look, it's not as if that this bill doesn't involve some pretty good things. I mean, the funding for the states is absolutely necessary to help the states continue to do their lockdowns and ramp up testing as they're supposed to do. But I mean, where's the help for the workers? Yes, increased food stamps is good, but we really should be having a $2,000 a month UBI stimulus. Why that's not in there? Well, it has to do, of course, with Nancy Pelosi, who's trying to get Republicans on board. Are Republicans on board? No. Already, House Minority Whip Steve Scalise called this legislation a, quote, partisan spending bill full of liberal wish items. So already, look, Nancy Pelosi has gone, fairly conservative on some of the members of this. Some of the items in this bill, right? And that's still too far for Republicans. So you're not going to get Republican support. So what do you do instead? Well, you go as progressive as you can and then embarrass Republicans. You force Senate Republicans to vote on a bill that involves things like more direct cash payments for Americans, which has proven to be quite popular. I know. And then you embarrass them politically. And maybe get a few of them to go, okay, yeah, all right, we'll vote in favor of this time. But they're not going to do that. Nancy Pelosi's not going to do that. She cares about the donors. And look, the donors got their bailout already. This is more crumbs. And so it's unfortunate, of course, to see that this is not, again, there's good pieces in it, but it's not good enough. And she's not doing what's necessary politically to try to get this passed. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.